Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and we are back in person. Last time here.
Last time in person.
Next time we'll be back on Zoom. But today we all talking director and screenplay, and I guess yes. I'm taking director, right?
Take it away.
I don't feel great about this category.
Oh, me neither.
A lot of our picture contenders, the ones that we feel strong about, have huge reasons why not to go for them in director. Looking at, let's say, Blitz, for example, it seems more like a personal story, not much visual flair going to it. Mm-hmm. Same thing can be said for Sing Sing, can be said for The Apprentice. And then we've had some films where their first time around, their director got nominated, like Gladiator, like Joker 2. And then that leaves me with my winner, which doesn't make sense at all to have this as a winner, but Dune Part 2, Denis Villeneuve.
Well, here's the thing. Denis does not need to win Best Picture to win Best Director.
He doesn't.
And he can win Best Director, but he can also be snubbed because the reason that they snubbed Dune Part 1 is that he was not taken seriously. That movie was not taken seriously, and it's very possible that they don't take this one seriously either, and they nominated everywhere except director. But that said, I do think if he is nominated, he can win.
I have Dune Part 2 being a serious contender. I have it in picture. I have it in 2 acting categories. So I do have it winning director. Do I feel great about it? No. But like I said, all the alternatives, they don't feel as strong because just running down my list of what I have in director, I have Steve McQueen returning for Blitz. He did not win for 12 Years a Slave. There's a narrative there, but if Blitz is not winning picture, I don't think it takes director. I think it could win another category above the line, but I don't think it's director being that one. Then I have Sing Sing. This is more just because I believe in the film being strong. That's why I have it in for best directing. And then my last 2, they're kind of my wild card picks. So the first one is going to be Nosferatu for everything I said over in best picture. It's going to be doing something different. It's taking a new creative liberty with this property. But the big drawback against Nosferatu is the fact that it could be overtly horror. It's not Focus's main push. However, with everything I've said so far, I have to treat it as if it's Focus's real push. And I have to treat it as if they are taking it for real. And if they're taking it for real, then he's definitely in Best Director.
If Nosferatu is as real as you think it is, getting that many nominations, getting some tech wins, Robert Eggers makes sense as a directing winner. The type of movies he makes, the style he makes, this feels like Jane Campion. This feels like Chloe Zhao. That same sort of zone of like auteur filmmakers doing something different with a big scale.
The issue there is Nosferatu, I don't see ever being top 3 in Best Picture, and all those films that have won Best Director have been top 3. So that's why I think he's solid for nomination, but I don't believe him much for a win. For my 5th slot currently, that's where like I'm not really sure what to do, but as I mentioned in our Best Picture episode, Neon has a film, they're sending it to Cannes. If I have it in picture, it needs to have some support, and that's going to be Joshua Oppenheimer for the end. The way people are talking about this film so far reminds me of Zone of Interest a little bit. Obviously, it's not going to be the same film at all, but just the way they're saying it, how creative it is, how different it is, just screams directing stuff. Maybe it doesn't click. Maybe it's so different that it doesn't work, but if I have it in a picture, that means it did work. So that's why he's coming along as my number 5.
I was going to say, like, are you going to have an international spot? And Joshua Oppenheimer, despite being an American, I think he fits with it. That said, we've had our disagreements about this before, about what is Neon's movie, what is the international representative, and I say it's Emmanuel, so I have Audrey Diwan.
That's very fair.
And I do think we are going to see, again, we're going to see a woman nominated here. I don't think we're going to see another year where there are no women, or at least that'll be very rare going forward from now.
Just outside from my Best Director, there's a few films that like I have in picture. I just don't really have faith in their direction being as showy as need be. The first one up is The Apprentice. Maybe it's because I'm not as strong as the film overall as you are. I think I have it at number 5 for picture currently. And I feel like this is a spot where he could be plucked out sort of thing, just due to it being more of like a writery type film. Nothing to go off of that. Right. That's just me speculating entirely. I'm assuming you have him in.
I do have him in. I don't think he's winning because it seems too small a movie. We've seen the director's branch go for directors like this in the past. I mean, Adam McKay got nominated for both The Big Short and Vice, and this feels very much along the same line. Not exactly in the same lines because it's not a comedy. It seems like the type of auteurist thing, and the director's branch does like to go political.
My next few picks here aren't very political, and they're more just films I have in Best Picture that I don't feel like their direction is going to be director movies, like Queer from Luca Guadagnino. It's just one where
He couldn't even make it for Call Me by Your Name.
Yeah, that exactly. Joker 2. They did Todd Phillips the first time. Even if this is a step up, like, are they going to do it again?
It depends how different the movie is. How much do they do in those musical numbers?
And if they do him again, I think that means Joker 2 could win Best Picture. I think that shows a huge sign of strength.
Winning, I don't think it's a win contender, just because it's going to be polarizing no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some people are going to decide that they hate it before they see it.
Polarizing, we have Megalopolis, where everything you said in Best Picture is how I feel in director. I feel like there's a better shot. I mean, I said this year, and I don't know if I fully believe this. I could see a world where he gets in director, no picture. But I don't believe that can happen in year 10.
That would be really hard to do. If Megalopolis is good, he could totally win. But that said, here's the other thing. When recently has a narrative won for director? We talked about it as like a Steven Spielberg will win for The Fabelmans because of the narrative. The narrative is so strong. It's Steven Spielberg. He's only won 2 directing Oscars. It's been 23 years. And Francis Ford Coppola, his whole narrative is just like, we used to like him and we haven't in a while. So like, here you go, bud. But it's a narrative.
It is a narrative.
Narratives get nominated in director. They just don't win.
When someone who could have a narrative, if this is their best film in like decades, is Gladiator 2's Ridley Scott. If it's a tech-heavy movie, if it's the event of the year, sure. I'm going to wait and see on that one, though. Other stuff here is stuff I don't really believe in, but they're worth a mention. There's Conclave, there's Emmanuel, there's Juror Number 2, there's Maria.
Juror Number 2.
These are all films that like I can see above the line love for, but is director the place they're going to show up?
A couple more to mention. Ramel Ross for The Nickel Boys. Again, it's elevated Oscar bait. This movie is going to be a powerful story, but it's going to be elevated not just because of the story, but because of the interesting, unique directorial style behind it. That's why I feel very good about it in picture. The director is a possibility for it. If it is as strong and as poetic as Hale County, then it can totally come along with it. Also, Edward Berger, Conclave. I mean, he didn't make it for All Quiet, and it's possible that the directing branch goes, shit, dude, we messed up.
My bad.
We got you this time, though. They don't do that very often, but if Conclave is good, that's like a little bit of an extra push to put him in. I don't have him in my top 5, though, because I think Conclave, even if it is in picture, I think it's a step down from All Quiet. I don't think it'll capture the same amount of love. And lastly, Tina Mabry for The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. It's not a directing type movie, but we've seen in the past there have been people in the conversation. I think Regina King, for example, for One Night in Miami. That was not a directing movie. That was just people talking. And The Supremes seems kind of similar in the approach to it. It seems like it's a movie about women talking. And I mean, Sarah Polley was also definitely in the top 10 for director.
Well, the conversation adapted screenplay is kind of all over the place because we have a lot of sequels that are fighting for Best Picture. We have a lot of different types of movies, but I think most people are in agreement of what number 1 is.
Yeah, number 1 is Sing Sing. At least at this time. It could change radically over the next few months. We all would have said that Past Lives was number 1 at this time last year in original screenplay. And yes, Sing Sing is adapted. I see people predicting it in both original and adapted screenplay because people don't know what it is, but it's based on a play that's based on an article. It would be a stretch to call this an original screenplay. So Sing Sing is my pick to win at this moment. It's just got such a juicy story, and it's apparently very emotional and very resonant in that way. And number 2, The Supremes at Earl's All You Can Eat. If Sing Sing is overthrown, I think it's for this. This one seems like it's just going to be very talky. It's going to be very warm, probably quite funny in a way like Coda was. I need to read this book. I'll know much more about it when I read the book, which I will do very soon. From a distance, this just feels like Steel Magnolias. And Conclave, that's another one I've got in here. The screenwriter does not have a good track record. We've talked about this. He did The Goldfinch. I mean, he did Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, which is what he's really hanging his hat on. We're not feeling great about the script of Conclave. However, Focus Features, they're positioning it so damn well. It just seems like it's their push. And if it's their push, screenplay comes along. And then there's also The Nickel Boys, which I think if this gets in picture, it's got to get in screenplay. I just feel very good about what they're going to do with this. It's going to be very artistically treated, but it's also just going to be very impactful and probably is going to speak a lot to what people are thinking about this year in an election year.
As you were talking here, I made a quick adjustment in my adapted screenplay lineup because I had Dune Part 2 on the outside looking in, but I just put it in over another film. But I have Joker 2 at my number 3. I think that's much more of the screenplay pick between the two.
What do you think about the fact that it's a musical, and musicals don't get screenplay unless they're La La Land?
Everything that seems to come out of this film says that this is not a musical in conventional senses. It's they occasionally go to songs, but it's still a drama. There's just going to be like a few times where they break out into song, but it's all internal. This is very much going to be just like Joker 1, where it's going to be a dark drama the rest of the time. We've seen Dune Part 2. And I think most people's, if they have issues, come to the script due to pacing.
It doesn't have the Eric Roth world building, which the first one does.
And I think that's a big part, is Eric Roth probably helped that get the nomination because of his namesake alone.
Dune Part 2, I think, is currently my number 5. And then I'd have Joker right outside. It's just the musical elements are throwing me off a little bit. And then also Emmanuel, I have right on the outside, because sometimes we see that these directing movies, these international movies, they get director, they don't need screenplay. However, that's been disproven because Drive My Car got screenplay, as did Worst Person in the World, as did Anatomy of a Fall, as did Triangle of Sadness, as did The Zone of Interest. So I think maybe if we are predicting like what the international slot is, we might need to put them in screenplay from now on.
I have Queer as a possible alternative.
Yeah, I've just heard the screenplay's mid.
It's one of those where I need to wait and see. Like, even though I have it in picture, I don't have it in screenplay. Maybe that's not a great correlation there. That's the film I did take out to put Dune in, so I could easily flip-flop them back around. If Nosferatu is doing a lot different, and if it is a strong contender, maybe, but I would put that below both sequels and probably put it below some of the other stuff that haven't been mentioned here.
I'd also toss out Hitman as a possibility. If Netflix doesn't bury it, then it's a pretty strong screenplay contender because it's funny as hell. We've talked about The Piano Lesson quite a bit.
I guess my big thing for that would be like Ma Rainey. It got in, right? Or it missed?
No, Ma Rainey did not get in.
So like, we don't always need to do the August Wilson ones, and assuming the creative team behind this isn't as good as the one from Ma Rainey, at least that's what it looks like so far, could point to stuff like that. But again, if Samuel Jackson's sweeping, maybe screenplay can come along with them. Original screenplay. Currently, my number 1 here is going to be Blitz, and that's why I have Blitz ahead of The Apprentice in Best Picture, because they're my 1 and 2 in the category right here. And I mean, The Apprentice, I feel like if people have issues with it, are going to come to the script due to the depiction of Trump. While some people will say that's the highlight, other people will be like, no, you can't talk about buying Messiah like that.
But what are the voters going to think? I don't think any Academy voters are going to be like, oh, I didn't like the way that you depicted Trump. It's the Orange Man Bad movie of the year.
It is Orange Man Bad movie, but I just don't know if Orange Man Bad movie is the movie to win. At this point, original screenplay is looking like adapted in the year of Women Talking and All Quiet, where, like, what do you put here? There's not much here. The rest of these films are all not in my picture line because all my picture movies just happen to be adapted this year. So at number 3, I do have Didi. That's his low nomination. Sundance Audience Prize. People are talking about it's making them cry, like you mentioned. I think maybe not performance-wise, but screenplay-wise, I think it could find its way in. It's kind of like what I think Past Lives would have done this year if, like, Dune had stayed or there was any other movie in the conversation where it would have faltered out of picture, but still kept screenplay.
A little bit like The Big Sick.
I do have The End here, but I don't feel as strong about it. So
it's a musical.
It is a musical, but I'm assuming there's going to be some good social commentary in there about rich people. They seem to like that. They nominate that pretty often.
You know what I'm worried about with The End?
It's
Annette.
And I did buy into the Annette hype back then, too. So
which is
doing
like
it all over again.
But at the same time, like, what else is there? It's also in my top 5, so I'm with you.
There's not much. If it is Neon's Push, it comes along. But if it is Annette, then take it out of every category. My number 5 slot ends up being Maria. I did not have this in earlier today, but after thinking about it, if I do have Angelina Jolie as my number 2, there has to be some other support for it, and I feel like that support would come here in screenplay. Just because of a weaker category, if she is continuing to win, that means people are watching the movie, especially after I list off the 6 through 10, you're going to be like, okay, I can see your angle. I don't like it, but there's not much else because let me run through Kinds of Kindness, Juror Number 2, Megalopolis, Flint Strong, Civil War, and His Three Daughters, and then I guess Challengers as well. Maria kind of sounds good compared to those.
Megalopolis, if we're giving it credit as like a potential, because you've got it like what, number 12, number 13 in Best Picture?
A lot of categories, it's the first one out because I don't buy it, but I admit it's strong.
And that's like, it could be strong, and if it is strong, then I think it's in screenplay.
I would agree.
But at the same time, like it feels like the type of movie that doesn't need to be in the screenplay.
Babylon.
Yeah, like Babylon. This is a year like adapted in 2021 where Top Gun Maverick would have missed any other year, but it was just because that category was so thin. Same with All Quiet on the Western Front, and Megalopolis falls in with those where it's like it's a technical achievement that doesn't need a screenplay nomination, but it's going to get one just because. Like, what else is there?
If I put in screenplay, I kind of have to put it in a picture, and I don't have it in picture currently, so that's my main reason for withholding it.
If we're giving credit to We Live in Time's actors, might as well put it close in your top 10 here. Civil War. I mean, Alex Garland has been given some love for his scripts in the past, Ex Machina specifically. This one, if it really hits the zeitgeist, if it gets that critic love, if it picks up some regional critic support, it could make it into a weak lineup of 5.
Juror Number 2, buying into it a little bit.
Don't buy into it.
As you see, like I don't have it getting any of these nominations, but like it's in the realm for supporting actress, lead actor, screenplay. Like I keep going back to it's the premise. It sounds cool, and if it's executed well, it can work. And Clint Eastwood movies, the ones that work, usually don't star him. This one does not star him.
I don't know, man. I don't think this is going to be like an end of career magnum opus swan song for Clint Eastwood. I think it's just another journeyman production. I think he's just doing it because he's a workaholic. One other thing, I mean, I know you're not really riding with the Jesse Eisenberg, Kieran Culkin movie, but if there's one category it gets into, it would be original screenplay, A Real Pain. But otherwise, yeah, this is the thin category of the year. This is the one that I'm like, I just do not know what to do with it. I'm really lost. So thank you for taking it off my hands. I did not want to do this one.
But you know the spiel. End of the episode, all that fun stuff. This is the last of the in-person ones. Very tragic.
Yeah, so long. You're going back to the United States of America.
Hoorah.
Hoorah, baby.
Honestly, I think we just ended there.
Thanks for watching.